Here we are. We're live with me and Tiarna in person. What are we talking about today, Tiarna?
So we're in real life. This is the real deal. We're not through screens. We're not on Zoom. We are here in the flesh in Bristol.
In Bristol. What do you think of Bristol so far? Be honest. None of this. Oh, it's a great place. What do you actually think?
Well, I have to say the train ride from London to Bristol is stunning. So all the rolling hills, the countryside. I mean, I haven't really seen Bristol aside from here just yet, and the Asda. So far, the Asda's great. The podcast studio is awesome. But I think Bristol, I like that it's not as hustle and bustle and busy as London.
No.
That's what I like about it. And
that's what's great about Bristol. I like Bristol because it's, it's Shoreditch a bit, but smaller.
Yeah.
I live on the longest road in the whole of Europe that has independent businesses. So it's not too kind of pretentious. Like there's another, well, it has got a Tesco's, it has got a Co-op. But other than that, you know what I mean? It's kind of got that vibe. We need to do some
exploring tonight, and then I'll come back to you on that.
Yeah. Let's rock and roll. What are we talking about today? This is a short
episode today, and we're going to be really efficient with covering a topic that I think we all want to know more about, and it's going through the good, the bad, the ugly in recruitment.
Okay. So should we focus it on clients or candidates?
I think today's really important to delve into the clients and the client experiences. So really understanding what we experience when we are conversating and dealing with clients across multiple different industries.
I love that. So let's start then with good.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about the best client that you've worked with. What does good look like?
So for me, I think where things, and sorry, this isn't good straight away, but where things go wrong often I see is recruitment partners are often thrown on the bus. They haven't been able to find me good people. They're sending me rubbish candidates, right? That's quote what we hear, which is quite awful because they're talking about people. But the reason is, and I think where a lot of partnerships, and I say partnerships go wrong, is recruitment agencies don't choose to partner with us properly. So where it goes right and where I have some of the most amazing partnerships with some of my clients is they generally see us as partners.
Yes.
And they take the time to sit with us. They take briefs with us. They talk about their business. They make sure we understand who they are, what's their mission, what's their vision. They even go a step further and take the time to put together a one-pager or a document about their business, their organization, case studies on who they've recruited for globally, and they actually care about their perception on who they are in the market. Because I think to not continue to focus on the good, but I think realistically there's a lot of bad recruitment going on out there. And I think we are blamed because we're not representing clients correctly.
We're the scum of the scum. Because we're not only, if you think about it, Tiana's looking at me like, what? But if you think about it, recruitment in itself has a bad reputation. There's a stigma against recruitment in general. But if you add the people who are recruiting the recruiters, to some people, rec to rec are the scum. But there are some excellent recruiters out there. And the beauty of what we do, like you say, is when you have a client, when you feel it hurts you if something goes wrong, because they feel like your partner, you feel like you work with them, you feel like essentially you want to see them do well. And when you feel like that, you feel as a partner, you want to give them knowledge of what the market's doing. You want to tell them. It can be so magical if they treat you like an equal.
But have you had an experience, Suze, where you haven't had a good partnership with your clients? And if you kind of break down what are the key elements to what goes wrong?
Well, I want to go into that. But first of all, I mean, there are some really good examples of amazing clients, which kind of like, it takes it away. So for example, my best client, someone didn't quite make it through rebate, but he saw the value in our partnership. He said, Suze, don't worry, don't refund us anything. And I'm like, no, the terms say you're owed back X amount. And he's like, no, we see the value in you. You keep that fee. You earned that fee. And it was that recognition that you add so much value to our business. Another one would be that they refer people to you. You know, they see you, they want to see you do well. Yeah. My best client offered me an increase in percentage because they saw the value. They want to have the best people. They know that to motivate me to get them the best people, they need to reward me. And in return, I do them favors as well. So it's like, that is a dream partnership.
I love how I've asked Suze what is the bad client experience, and she's gone and she's answered the question with what good client experiences are, which I think is really nice. It is good to emphasize and disclaimer here that there is a lot of great businesses out there that do want to partner with recruitment partners, and we could go on and write a list of all these great experiences.
It's easy to think about the bad things, I think, actually.
Yeah, but I also think it's important to highlight the things that go wrong, because I don't think candidates or other clients are aware of what's going on in the industry from what we deal with on a day-to-day. And I think that's where it's really challenging, because if you're trying to work on a role and a brief with a client and they're refraining from giving you information, and then you're asked by the candidate, that business is technically you're incriminating your own brand.
Yes.
Because we are the mouthpiece of the market to your branding. And I think we are even stronger than your branding in recruitment because I think, let's be honest,
with a PR.
Recruitment branding and marketing isn't the most exciting in the world. If you look at marketing as a whole, I think recruitment has a long way and a lot to go when it comes to branding and marketing their
100%.
agencies. So we are the marketing
with
behind
a PR.
our partners. Exactly. So my question is why, I guess, what pushback do you, and sorry, I'm focusing on the negative. I think it's really important to highlight. Why do you think recruitment agencies push back on partnering with recruitment partners?
I think a lot of the time they're quite short-sighted and they see the fee as being something, well, why should I have to pay that if I could do that myself? Whereas if you think long-term, that candidate could earn me 10 times
so true
what I'm paying in that fee. So I think it's that initial investment. Frankly, if someone's worried about paying a recruiter anyway for that fee, they're not a business. I want a partnership. I'm not saying that to be vindictive. Well, if you don't want me, I don't want you. It's not that. It's more about if you don't see the value in your people, and your people should be the most important thing. Your people should matter most. If you don't see the value in investing in getting that person, then really are you a place that I would want to send people to anyway? Probably not. If a client you send the terms, they agree the terms, then they try and negotiate after accepting. That is awful. Has that ever happened to you?
That has happened to me. And
really? Tell me.
Yeah, I think, well, actually quite a lot, without going into too much detail. Recently, where a candidate's joined the business, they've embedded into the business, the invoice is now 2.5 weeks late, and they're renegotiating the terms once they've been embedded in the business. Now, most people would ask, is the candidate settling in and are they enjoying the candidate being in the business? And the answer is yes. So why are you renegotiating terms when you've got somebody that is adding value to your business?
Yes.
And that makes me question the culture of your business and actually makes me question working with you as a client again.
Yeah, it's an integrity thing.
Yeah, it does indeed.
Ultimately, it's a certain type of empathy to see from the other side what the recruiter's doing and to see the work that you put in. Because rec direct's not easy. And I think there's two types of rec direct. You're like me. If I get a candidate, I will represent maybe 2 or 3 clients for that candidate maximum. There are some rec directs out there. Tiarna will send her CV. I will send it around to every client that I think might be looking. To me, why are you using a rec direct? You could do that yourself.
And that's not our job, Suze. Like, we get paid a high percentage fee to represent the top 5% in the market. And we are paid because we should know our market and we should know that you as Susanna belong in this type of business for these reasons.
Yeah.
And if I can't provide that service, then the client shouldn't be paying me a fee, but you should not be working with me as a candidate. And I think that's where, if we look at when you're a candidate looking for your next opportunity and you think, okay, how do I choose the right recruitment partner? And how do I know who is going to best represent me? What do you look for if you were going to tell a candidate? What would be the key attributes and the key strengths that you think a recruitment partner should demonstrate for you to represent them?
Yeah. And are you asking me that question?
Yeah, I'm asking you.
I think most of all, I was like, is she making a point? I think most of all.
A point and a question.
Does the rec direct know what they're talking about? Okay. Because there are so many rec directs out there. People think, oh, I can make a quick buck. I can just do a percentage. Fine. But does that rec direct actually vet the businesses that they work with? Because I know that if I get a good recruiter, I could send them out to 10 companies. One of them will stick. No, that's not what a good rec direct does. A good rec direct will say, I have vetted these 4 companies based on what you've told me, because everyone's different. Tiarna, is money important to you? Work-life balance, progression, social culture? Find out what the candidate wants. Know what is their why, what are their key motivators, and then I'm going to match them with the right company. But not only that, I'm going to find out from that right company, what's their retention like? Are people leaving there? What does the owner say when you give them feedback? If I'm an agency owner, I should be able to take feedback that maybe people say these bad things, because every company has bad reputations for one thing or another over the years. Will they try and change that, or will they be defensive? That is a sign of a good company if they are not defensive and they accept the feedback, in my opinion.
I like that, Suze. I think it's good kind of advice, but I think when you're, I guess, in the process of looking for a new opportunity, and you probably see this with candidates that perhaps are working with other recruitment partners, if you're not getting that experience, so this is for candidates listening right now, if you aren't getting that experience with your recruitment partner, how would you suggest they manage the breakup of the recruitment partner they're partnering with? Because I hear it quite often that I get feedback from my candidates saying that was a really bad experience. I'm in this process with them. So what would you tell the candidate listening today?
Well, first of all, try not to get into that situation in the first place. Don't just contact the first rec direct that contacts you. Ask them how they choose their companies, right? Second of all, I think if you've got to the point where you think they're just rallying your CV around and there's no trust there, send them a polite email saying, please send me a list of the companies that you've sent my CV to. For now, I'd no longer like to be engaged with you, but I do thank you for your time.
I love that. And I think that's even the most important, because something that I see, I'm sure you see this a lot, is if you are a candidate that's on the market and your CV is spec'd around the entire market, you've instantly reduced your chances of being successful in a role.
Yep.
And it does not make you look good. And you are trying to, at all costs, keep your reputation as authentic and as real as possible. And if you're working with multiple recruitment partners that are sending you everywhere, it is not great.
Should you work with one rec direct or should you work with a group?
I am a strong believer in working with one recruitment partner, because
Really?
I think that person, if they're a specialist within your field.
Yes.
So, for example, you're an education recruiter and you know the education space in and out.
Yes.
If I had an education candidate come to me, the right thing to do is say, I know someone that is better supported to work with you.
Yes.
And it's Suzanne Gray. She will get you the best education role there is. That's logic. I mean,
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense for me to represent that person because you know that space better.
Yeah.
So I think it's so important that your recruitment partner knows the industry that they're recruiting in, or at least can partner with other partners that will provide that same level of service.
So true. I've got a question for you. Client calls you tomorrow saying, hey, I've heard of you, Tiarna, TRM Connects. Tell me, if I pay you 35% of that candidate salary, will you find me someone? Now, you know that this company have got a really bad reputation and that you probably, integrity-wise, might not feel that great recruiting for them. Be honest with me. If they were going to pay you 35% and they were offering, I don't know, 100K salary, would you work with them?
That's a nice fee. So would I work with them? Okay.
Tiarna doesn't pay tax, by the way. She lives in Dubai.
That's a lot of money. I could travel for the next 3 months on that. No, no. What I would do, so I will answer the question, but I think it's complicated, because I think if you ask 10 people about one agency, you're going to get 10 different responses.
Such a good point.
So I would first seek to understand, is what the market thinks of this business actually true? I don't think there's one recruitment agency out there that hasn't been through an evolution
100%.
Whereby at some stage they were probably hiring, firing, they were reducing their commission structure. They probably had a few awful managers that were treating people like rubbish. So every recruitment agency has its curves, and I've seen a lot come out of it and I've seen a lot stay in it. So I would actually say to that client, I will work with you and I will partner with you exclusively to actually reposition your business to the market based on who you were in the past. And let's be honest about where you currently were. If your business was rubbish for these reasons.
Tiarna, I don't agree.
You don't agree?
I don't agree.
No.
Because what if that company owner was known to be, I don't know, a bully?
Well, if that's the case, then I would say no, because ethically that's wrong. So
Okay.
if it's specifically an ethical issue,
I see.
I would never work with a business that has ethical issues.
But if you thought there was room for improvement, you would then add your value that way.
Correct.
That makes sense.
If there was an opportunity to, so for example, they went from 100 people, they're now 30. The market thinks that that agency's lost lots of people for these reasons. There's probably reasons behind that, and that could be many factors. And if it's not ethical, and if it's generally market trends or things happen that are, I think, able to explain to candidates, look, this is why the business was currently in this situation. This is where they are now. And this is why they're looking to bring you in, because they're going to offer you X, Y, Z to help transform the business and take it to the next level. I think some candidates like that opportunity.
So true. What would you say to the candidate who has seen bad reviews or heard negative things about a company, but they haven't met them and it's just hearsay?
I would find the truth in it. And if it's true, I would say it's true. This is what happened and this is what the business was known for. But they've now actually removed all those managers from the business. They've now changed their commission model. They've now got a new culture. They've got someone promoting DE&I. That is true. And I would never lie. If that's what happened, that's what happened.
What about as a candidate? Would you still see them, meet them if your recruiter said, you know, give them a chance, or would you listen to hearsay? There's a lot of that going on in the industry where people are like, oh, I've heard bad things about this agency. I don't want to go for an interview there.
But I hear that all the time, Suze. I have a good example. Maybe we shouldn't name names, but Michael Page.
Okay.
Michael Page are a corporate engine, and everybody has a, let's call it a stigma on them, right? I think they're a fantastic training ground, and they produce a lot of fantastic recruiters. And if you look at most business owners, they started their career at Michael Page.
Yes.
So I think our job as a recruitment partner is to be able to identify, is that business right for somebody at that stage of their career?
So true.
And if I'm speaking to a recruiter that's got a couple of years experience, which I don't tend to do, but needs nurturing, needs L&D, needs support, needs structure, they're a great business.
Yes.
And they would be the perfect place for them for a few years to get that structure they need.
Yeah.
They have a fantastic pension scheme if you're looking to retire, one of the best in industry. There's certain perks that business could offer, but it depends on where you are at your career. And I think there's a place for most people, but it depends on where you are in your career.
And everyone is different.
Yeah.
And it's amazing how you can see totally opposite experiences. Tell me one thing. Have you ever had to dump any clients?
Yes.
And if so, why?
Yes.
Tell us about the breakups.
The breakups.
This time we're actually talking about recruitment.
It's not live breakups. Many reasons. Clients have lied. Clients have dragged out processes. I've introduced candidates and clients have said, oh, they're in my network, so I won't be paying you a fee.
No, I hate that.
Yeah. Has that happened to you?
Yes, quite recently, actually. A candidate said she wanted to be introduced to this company, wasn't being introduced already, sent through the profile, client messaged back saying, oh, they're already in process with us, they're talking to somebody. So I asked the candidate, and she said, no, they mentioned they were looking, but I'm definitely not in process. I'm not like engaged with anything. I was actually in a really bad mood that day. I think I was dealing with some divorce stuff or something. I think I replied to the client and said, I hope you're not trying to dodge a fee.
How did they respond?
I would never do that. I would never try and dodge a fee, but they didn't go back on it and try and understand. They were adamant. And I was just like, do you know what? It was kind of in my mind. I was kind of like, I know what they're doing. Yeah. I think they should at least try and partner with me on this, but they're not. And to me, that's kind of like a moment where I'm like, I love this person, think they're great, love this client, but I can't work like this. If you don't see the value, and if you try and reduce the fees, knowing that I pay no less than 20% everywhere in the market, right? No less. Some clients go much higher than that. Why would you try and negotiate lower? Do you want to get the best candidates?
We're dealing with recruiters at the end of the day, aren't we, Sue? So I think we have one of the most interesting jobs because we're dealing with people that understand the market and they're doing this for their daily job as they are in whatever market they're recruiting into, which adds complexity, but I actually enjoy it because it means they know exactly what's going on and they should actually, in theory, be able to manage a process better. They should be able to sell themselves better, but I don't know how you see that rolling out. But I tend to see sometimes in recruitment...
Some people forget.
I mean, processes will go for 6 months. And how in your world, if you're recruiting legal professionals, could you imagine having a candidate that went in your process for 6 months? That doesn't make sense. So why do we see it in the recruitment agencies where processes drag on for 6 months?
It's interesting. It could be a budget thing. It could be a not so certain thing. It doesn't happen very often. I think more clients now, they can turn around a good candidate within a week. It's normally the candidate who doesn't say to the client that they won't work notice. That's a really difficult one. If you're a candidate and you're on a 3-month notice period, how to say, I don't want to work my notice whilst ending on good terms. There's many difficulties with that. But I think ultimately the best clients I have, and it's just such a joyful feeling, is when you're going back and forth every day about how to manage this candidate.
Amazing. It's so easy.
And together you kind of bond over this beautiful kind of realization of what motivates the candidate and what the candidate, and when it works and you get it over the line, it's sad. I miss some of my clients when we made the placement. I'm like, I still want to talk to you every day.
I know you, because you build a bond with them. And I think if you go back to, we were talking, I know we've talked in other podcasters about your why and why you do this job. And it's that feeling of knowing that you've been able to achieve and accomplish something with someone that's actually going to change somebody else's life, because you're bringing in a senior recruit into their business that's going to generate them money, which is going to make that person have a better life, whether it's buy a house, go on a holiday, support their family, but you're also growing a business. And I think we play such a huge role in that, which is so fulfilling. And it's so a nice reminder sometimes when you're on the hamster wheel of just, you know, day to day, it's like we're actually are in a kind of weird way changing people's lives because we're getting them better job opportunities, and the job is at the center of everything that we do. And I think I don't remind myself that enough sometimes.
Well said.
Do you
well said. No, I don't. And that's why I love it when you said that, because it reminds you, if you're working in recruitment, if you feel like you should feel that responsibility, you are changing people's lives. Never underestimate that. I get anxious when I make a placement, even though I know it's probably going to be amazing. The responsibility as a recruiter is it's not about the fee. It's not about that quick transactional placement. It's about lives, and it's about making someone's life better. They're paying off their mortgage, paying for their wedding, paying for their divorce. But, you know, ultimately, that responsibility should not be taken for granted. Too many recruiters are leaving the industry because of bad placement.
It's so true. I think that's why qualifying the clients you work with is so important, because we want it to work out for you. And if clients are pretending that their business is A when it's actually B, it doesn't help anyone, because it's not going to work out, and there is going to be a rebate. And you've actually moved someone from their comfortable job of 9 to 10 years to bring them into an environment that isn't what they thought it was. And how often do you hear in education recruitment, because I hear it a lot, where they were promised the world in an interview and then they get into the role and it's nothing like what they said?
All the time. But I also
so
think it
appalling.
can be people's perceptions, like before they go in, and it's like everyone, right? They say you're at your happiest the day before you go on your holiday. I always talk about this. So when you're in the office, you're thinking about your holiday. But I think it's so interesting in humanity, new relationships, the honeymoon period. It's like new job. I'm like, I'm so excited. They're perfect. Automatically, it's the way the brain works. New, all the problems before that might have been related to me are no longer there because it's a clean slate. But ultimately, there will be issues. I think some companies do the big sell because they know what they think they want to be, but what they are is different. No company is perfect.
So true.
I've got candidates who go on LinkedIn and contact people who are already there and say, what's it actually like to work for you? And I think that's a brilliant job.
That's a brilliant idea. That is a great idea. I would encourage everybody to do that because once you've placed a candidate with a client as well, it's so much more exciting to work with that business because you've got evidence that it's a great place to work.
Yeah.
And then you can go to market with that message to say, hey, I've placed so-and-so into this business. They're loving it for these reasons. And I feel so much more comfortable going to market with that message versus a new business, which is why I generally prefer partnering with less and more clients because I think the more intimate the relationships you have with your clients, the better you are at believing in the message to market, the better you are at getting the right people for them.
Yes.
And then ultimately, the better you are at actually growing their organization.
Definitely.
I think.
And how many clients out there, they get someone, they're so happy that they've got someone, and then suddenly it goes downhill. Their expectations are up there, probably too high of the candidate that they're getting.
Yes.
And then suddenly it's not a problem necessarily with the candidate, it's a problem with the structure. It doesn't work out how they'd hoped. And then they hire and fire. Now, this is my bugbear. I cannot believe that there are companies out there who boast, oh, we just fired 2 people because it didn't work. It's just not okay. Ultimately, it's not something to be proud of. When you take someone on, they're your responsibility to grow and make them successful. If they leave, they shouldn't be fired. They should leave because you have coached them that this is not the right place for them.
Yeah, it's so true, Susan. Recruitment's quite reactive, I find. And if I compare it to my previous experience in other businesses I worked in, you would never fire someone quickly. It's quite a drawn out process. You've got people on performance plans. It takes, in Holland, it takes years to actually fire someone. But in recruitment, you hear it quite often where, the founder wakes up one day and they've lost a big account and all of a sudden they're just letting the people go that aren't billing the most.
It should never be a surprise.
But it does come as a surprise for a lot of these candidates. And then that poor candidate is in a situation where they're having to look for a new job without a job. And we all know in recruitment, can be short-sighted. So a client is going to question a motive of someone that's on the market versus someone that's employed. And I think it's always more challenging in recruitment, as brutal as it is to say out loud. If you are unemployed in recruitment, your chances of getting a great job are much less.
It's so true.
Everybody wants to hire the top people that are still employed in their agency that are doing well. So if you're at the bottom of that, you're going to have to take a salary cut.
Yeah.
And it's going to be, not your top pick of the best agencies, unfortunately, that will want to hire you, unfortunately.
Are you saying that if I'm unhappy in my job, then I shouldn't resign without something to go to?
If you're unhappy with your job, I would try and fix what's going on in your job. If you cannot fix it, you're ready to go, I would start looking before you leave.
Really?
Yep.
Interesting.
I would always. Well, first and foremost, you've got security of still earning money.
Yeah.
And secondly, you're more attractive to the market if you are still employed within your business. And the narrative is the culture's changed, the people have changed, and you're looking for a new opportunity, not that you've been fired.
So true. One of the things that I find with the clients that I have dumped is that they have tried to grow too quickly. They're great entrepreneurs. They're like, I'm going to take X amount of headcount. And then when those people don't deliver, it can be very quick and a cull.
Yes.
A cull is so damaging.
It's awful.
And it makes people, when they get let go, it hurts them. They spout bad things about businesses. And then before you know it, you cannot employ people easily because your reputation is damaged out there.
This is the thing. It's really hard. And going back to your question earlier, would you work with a business getting paid 35% if they had a bad reputation? That's what you're up against as a client. If you fire your whole organization or let your organization go, that is now the message to market. And it will take a long time to change that. And I have it with a lot of clients that have really worked on trying to change their culture because they were known to the market as being corporate, stuffy, chained to their desk, working 5 days a week, 12-hour days. And that was the perception on the market. It's not the case because I've now placed people in the business and they've told me the complete opposite. But that was the stigma and that was the reputation that client had to the market.
Yes.
So to change that, I think we play a huge role in changing that because we can be a third party that can say, look, I know people that are working there that are actually disagreeing.
Yeah.
But it's a hard thing to change.
And ideally, we can get them on a phone call with those people, right?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know about you, but I work with probably about 5 clients.
Yeah.
In the last year, I've probably placed with 5 clients.
Yeah.
Because I hate to say it, but I believe there's a lot of recruitment companies out there who I just wouldn't touch.
Agree.
And I want people to come to me to believe in me. that I know that they will, it doesn't matter. I don't care if they're going to get a 10K increase elsewhere. If they're going to leave recruitment because it was such an awful experience, that is more damaging than that 10K.
So what do you look for, Suze, when you're trying to qualify a business? What are the key metrics?
First one is gut feeling. Would I want to work there? Okay. And those things include how you feel when you walk into the office. Do they show you around the office? What's the vibe that you get? I'm a massive believer of energy that you get from people. Like, do you feel drained or do they feel radiated? So those are really important things. I think look at LinkedIn. Who's left? Why have they left? It takes 10 minutes. Contact that person.
Yeah.
You left there. Why did you leave there? What do they like as a company? Ask the boss, what are the bad things that go around the market about this company? So when you're having that interview, ask them, what are the negative things? See how humbly they take that. Are they honest? Do they admit that they had tough times, or do they get defensive? Oh, well, they weren't right for us anyway. Well, if they're saying, well, they weren't right for us anyway, that's deflective away from themselves. True leaders, true recruitment owners take responsibility for the bad things that happen, and they move with them, and they make themselves better and better and better.
Yeah, I like that, Suze.
Thank you. What about you? What's your answer to that question?
A lot of what you said, actually, but I think I would always meet the clients first before I work with them so I can see their office, because I think it is really important to see what their office is. I would always call, something I've been doing a little bit more recently is I call people who have worked there to ask them what they think. So I'm kind of doing my own research in the background, and you've got to be careful with that, because if people leave, they leave for a reason.
Yeah.
But then I often go back and I share with the client and say, look, I've spoken to 5 people that worked with your business. This is what they've said. Can you elaborate on this for me? Because this is what market's going to be kind of also on market in terms of what people think of your business. So qualifying what's facts and what's not about their culture, about their ways of working. Commission structure, let's be honest. Everyone in recruitment is often in recruitment to make money.
Yes.
So how do they remunerate their employees?
Yes. What's the average person earning? Right? So
Yes.
you can say we've got 30% commission. Okay, but how many people are actually earning 30%?
Because often you hear that and people have to build 300K to actually earn that. And then if you ask the founder, how many people are building 300K? No one.
Exactly.
So it's great to have a great commission scheme, but if no one's achieving it, it means nothing.
What's the average person billing? Should someone ask that at interview?
Yes,
Should someone ask that
absolutely.
at interview?
I'm not joining a failing, sinking business. I want to know, what is the top biller billing? What are the average people billing? How do you remunerate? And if I am billing 200K, what am I going to earn? And I don't think enough people ask those direct questions. And then they get into the business and they find out the commission structure. Too late. You need to know before you join. And you need to know what their benefits are, whether it's maternity leave cover, whether it's pension. I know a couple of clients I work with do a 9-day fortnight, which is amazing. So every second Friday they have off. I mean, if you've got kids or hobby, that's a whole day you get back, which is
so
unbelievable. Hybrid, 5 days in the office versus 2 is a big difference now. So
Yeah.
I think you've got to make sure you've got businesses that cater to all different people's needs. And I think ultimately, where are these businesses taking people on, like career? I hear so often people are coming to me saying, I want to leave my job because there's no career pathway. There's no promotion pathway.
It's the biggest thing.
I'm no longer supported to become director. So those are really important factors that we need to do the research for our candidates to be able to present.
And we should have examples. A good rec will have examples.
Yeah.
No, I love that. I love that. So best client that you work with, tell me in one sentence, what is it? I love how I'm focusing on the positive here. But what is it about your best client, and how does that translate to the candidates that you place there?
Well, they are the best client because they put my candidates through the best experience. So the processes are smooth. They generally give detailed feedback throughout every single step. So even if it's a no, I've got tangible feedback that I can go back to my candidate to give them something to go away with. So when they continue to interview with other businesses, they've taken something with them, which I love. Honest feedback from clients. I can't stand when clients just, we're no longer hiring.
Yeah.
Why? And what was it about that person? Because if they're good, you'd hire them. So be honest and share what the feedback was, because that's helping that candidate within their career. And I think communication throughout the process, be upfront, be honest. Don't renegotiate terms. Don't be sharky and go around us to get information. Or if you know we're working with you to secure the best of the best, don't go over us, work with us. It's really about that partnership for me. And I think my best clients and where I have the most enjoyable experiences with are those that see me as a partner and not as a competitor.
I love that. And I would definitely work with you if I was a recruiter. But I do have a listener's question, actually, that I want to ask you. I am working with a rec-to-rec. They placed me in my role. I was happy there for the first 6 months, but now we're 9 months in. I want to leave. I'm scared to contact that recruiter who recruited me here. What if they tell the company? What should I do? Should I go back to the recruiter who placed me here, or should I find a new recruiter?
I think it depends on the experience you had with that recruiter. If I'm honest, Suze, I think we get this quite a lot, right? If someone comes to me, it's always in confidence. So I would never share any information to anyone about our conversations. It's always very confidential. So if you had an experience with that recruiter who placed you there and you didn't feel like the experience was great or there was a confidentiality breach, then you're within your rights to choose another recruiter, because I certainly wouldn't going back to them purely based on loyalty.
Yeah.
So they're clearly reaching out to us because they didn't have a good experience. If you build a strong enough relationship with your candidate, and if you followed up with your candidate, which we should be doing in the first 3 months, it should be every single month. But then after that, check-ins constantly, then you're doing your job right as a recruiter. And if that candidate's in 6 months and they haven't heard from their other recruiter, then unfortunately they haven't done the aftercare part, which is even more important than securing someone the job, I think.
So true. Great reminder that I need to be better at my aftercare because I love my candidates, right? I get very attached to my candidates to the point that there's some who I probably over message at first.
Oh, I'm the same.
Because I miss them.
I love my candidates. I was back in London recently and I went out for drinks with one of my candidates and then we just have so much fun. I see my candidates who now become my clients, some of my friends, and I love that. And that's what makes our job exciting.
And then sometimes I think, okay, I think they're getting a bit annoyed now.
Yeah,
I back off, but then once I backed off, I kind of back off for good. So it's a great reminder that
aftercare is important.
A bit more chilled.
What is your one non-negotiable when signing terms with a client?
I think it is knowing that they value the recruitment service and that they're open. I keep saying feedback, but feedback is such a gift. Is that company willing to change based on reputation? Will they hear the bad stuff? Because I can't work with a client who will not hear that they had a bad interview experience, because they'll continue in that way. But if they are able to be flexible and work around the right candidate, then we've got something. They can grow. I can send them different people. Otherwise, they're just a one size fits all, and no company grows in one size fits all. Every company needs to be diverse in types of people, but you have to take feedback to be like that. So that's my answer.
I like that feedback. Feedback's the theme today. We're at time.
We're at time, but thank you so much for this is our first live episode face to face. Is it weird?
It's so much more exciting being in the real life.
I find it weird looking at you in person, not at a screen.
Normally we're through Zoom. We can't put filters on ourselves.
I know we can't. No filters. This is us as we are. Thank you so much for tuning into today's episode. Tiarna, any final words?
I feel like we should start a tradition. At the end of every podcast, we have a tradition where we will leave our listeners with something inspiring and inspirational.
Give me a good quote. Go on. You're on the spot now, Tiarna. Give me a
quote. I would say a good quote on the spot. Whoa. There is no plan B, because plan B only interferes with plan A.
Ooh.
Your quote, Suze.
No, you can't know. One quote is more powerful than two. Tune into the next episode to get Susanna's quote. And thank you for listening.
Thank you.